So, dear students, good morning. Can you hear me? Please give me a confirmation with the text so that I can continue my interaction with you. Are you able to hear me, dear students? Sir, the camera started working, it seems. Okay, Laxman, please wait for a while. Wait for a while. Yeah, Anushka, wait for a while. If you want to see me, I need to work out for just 2 minutes. Please wait. I think you shall be able to see me properly. Just wait for 1 minute. Just wait for 1 minute. I hope you'll be able to see me properly. Mm. Again, it is gone actually. It has gone once again. Okay, it's not required. Okay, so dear students, today we are going to start footprints without feet. Footprints without feet. So you can open your supplementary reader and keep your textbook open so that you are able to underline with pencil, write down the meanings as well as some notes that I tell you sometimes. Okay, so you please open your English textbook, keep a pencil handy so that you are able to write down sometimes. Okay, so dear students, let us begin. Let us begin our lesson. Dear students, now you tell me whether I am audible. Am I audible? Am I audible now? I hope I am audible at this moment. You just confirm me so that I can continue. Okay. I am audible now. Okay. Thank you, Yog. Thank you, Laxman, Anushka. I am just starting the introduction part. Okay. So this lesson is about footprints without feet. Footprints without feet is the name of the lesson, as well as this is the same name which is given to your supplementary reader. So the name of the book is Footprints Without Feet, and the name of the lesson which I am going to teach you today is also Footprints Without Feet. So the name of the lesson as well as the name of the book is matching today. Okay, it's matching. So it is a supplementary lesson from supplementary reader. So the question is, can a man become invisible? This is the story of a scientist who discovers how to make himself invisible. Does he use or misuse his discovery is something that we are going to learn today. So dear students, the name of the scientist in this lesson that we are going to read today is Griffin. His name is Griffin. Okay. So he has discovered a drug, a very rare drug, which enables him to make to become invisible. Okay, the people in the society are not able to see him completely. Okay, because he has discovered a drug which makes him invisible. Okay. Now we've got to know from the instances in the text whether his invisibility is a blessing for mankind or it's a curse for the society. This is what we are going to see with the help of a host of instances that the writer has presented in the story. Okay, so dear students, footprints without feet means there are footprints on the sand, but no feet can be seen. Okay, because the scientist here has made the footprints on the sand, but as he is invisible, his feet cannot be seen. Understood? So this is why the name of the lesson is Footprints Without Feet. Okay, so now let me begin. Okay, see here, the two boys started in surprise at the fresh muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. Two boys in the beginning of the lesson, you can find that there are two boys, okay, who started to follow muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. Okay, bare feet, and the feet have left the footprints on the muddy surface. Okay, what was a barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? Okay, so the scene is the middle of London, and where was the man? This is the question. Okay, this is the question in the minds of the two boys. What was a barefooted? Barefooted means a man without any slipper. Okay, in barefoot. Okay, without any slippers in his feet. Okay. What was a barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? And where was the man? Where has he gone now? This is what people are surprised about. As they gazed, a remarkable sight met their eyes. Okay, as they were gazing, a remarkable sight, they could see a remarkable sight. What is that? A fresh footmark appeared from nowhere. Footmarks are appearing, from nowhere, because no person appears to be visible. But on the other hand, his footmarks are visible. Therefore, people have become surprised. Where have the footmarks come from? Further, footprints followed, one after another, descending the steps and progressing down the street. Okay, further footprints could be followed, one after another, without the presence of the person who is making the footprints. Understood? Only the footprints could be visible on the streets, one after another. The boys followed, fascinated, until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter and at last disappeared altogether. The boys followed. Okay, the two boys who could discover the footprints on the sand, okay, footprints on the surface, these two boys were following the footprints. Okay, they became fascinated because it's something which is mysterious. Okay, there is no person visible, but apparently no person visible, but his footprints were being created one after another. Okay, therefore the two boys became absolutely fascinated until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter and at last disappeared altogether. Okay, so it seemed that a person is running, and as he is running, his footprints are being created on the surface, but as time passed on, his muddy impressions of his footprint, okay, became fainter, okay, and fainter, and at last invisible completely. The footprints also became invisible completely, disappeared altogether. Okay, so this is what our story has started with. Okay, the two boys are chasing, the two boys are chasing footprints of a person who does not appear to be visible. Understood? They were very much surprised. They were very much fascinated, and because of the mystery, and because of the reasons that, in spite of the not having the symptom of a person being present, how can the footprints be possible on the surface? Okay, so now this particular instance is over. Now let's find out another instance of the invisible man. Invisible man is making series of instances. He is doing miracles, okay, one after another. So we are going to learn what is his next instance, what kind of activity he is involved in next. The explanation of the mystery was really simple enough. The bewildered boys had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make the human body transparent. Okay, so bewildered means surprised. Those boys who have become absolutely stunned or surprised. So these two boys had been following a scientist whose name was Griffin, okay, who had just discovered how to make the human body transparent. Okay, so with the discovery of a rare drug, the scientist in this lesson, whose name is Griffin, has made his body transparent. Okay, so here two boys were following a scientist who had discovered how to make the human body transparent. Griffin, the scientist, had carried out experiment after experiment to prove that human body could become invisible. Okay, so the name of the scientist, as I told you, is Griffin here, who had carried out experiments after experiments to prove that human body could be invisible. Finally, he swallowed certain rare drugs and his body became as transparent as a sheet of glass. His body became as transparent as a sheet of glass, though it also remained as solid as glass. Okay. Brilliant scientist though Griffin was rather a lawless person. Okay, so dear students, see, this is important. He was a brilliant scientist, of course, but what is the flaw in his character? FLAW. What is the flaw in his character? The flaw in his character was he was a lawless person. Lawless person means a person who does not comply with the set of rules and instructions, a set of rules which we are supposed to follow in a society. Okay, because man is a social animal. He has to follow certain rules in the society. In order to live in the society, he has to follow certain rules. Okay, but Griffin appears to be a lawless person, means he does not comply with the law of the society. He disobeys all the social norms. So in spite of being a brilliant scientist, he was a lawless person. In spite of being a very brilliant scientist, he was not a law compliant person. Okay, he broke all the social norms and created chaos in the society with the help of his ruthless, cruel activities, the instances of which we are going to learn in this lesson. Now let me go ahead. His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him. His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him. Why? Because they disliked him because he was a lawless person, he was a violent person. Although he was a very brilliant scientist, but he was a violent person. In revenge, Griffin set fire to the house. See the first example of his violence. See the first example of his lawlessness. Understood? So, what he did in the what was the first instance of his lawlessness? When his landlord asked him to leave the house, he set fire to his house in revenge. To get away without being seen, he had to remove his clothes, okay, because clothes will make him visible to the people. Therefore, he had to take off his clothes to make him invisible. Thus, it was that he became a homeless wanderer, without clothes, without money, and quite invisible, until he happened to step in some mud and left footprints as he walked. Okay, so what was the reason for creating footprints? So by the invisible scientist, the reason was he became a homeless wanderer, okay, because he was being chased by people for indulging in some violence, some violent acts. Like the first instance, what he did was he set the fire of his landlord, set the house of his landlord on fire. Therefore, people were chasing him, and in order to run away from the society, he was running invisible. He took off his clothes because his clothes will make him visible to the people. Therefore, he had put off his clothes and he was running. Okay, he was running, and therefore he became a homeless wanderer, without clothes, without money, and quite invisible. Okay, and then let's find out where he learns himself. Okay, Sahil, good morning. Hopefully you are able to hear me properly. Okay, thank you. Okay. He escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints in London. So somehow he managed to escape himself from the boys who were chasing him, okay, chasing his footprints, okay, in London. But his adventures were by no means over, okay. But he was involved in a series of spate of adventures, okay, one after another. Let us find out what is the next adventure that he involves himself into. He had chosen a bad time for the year to wander about London without clothes. It was midwinter. The air was bitterly cold, and he could not do without clothes. Instead of walking about the streets, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. Okay, so what was the next adventure he was involved into? He had chosen a bad time of the year to come to London because it was midwinter time. It was very difficult for him to roam about without any clothes because it's winter. Okay, the air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. Understood? And if you put on the clothes, then he will be visible to the people. Therefore, it's a very difficult situation for him for his next adventure. Instead of walking about the streets, what he did, because of excessive cold, biting cold, what he did was he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. So he slipped into a London store for warmth, okay, because outside it's biting cold and he had to put off his clothes so as to remain invisible. Therefore, he slipped into a big London store for some warmth, okay, because it was very cold outside. Now let's find out what happens when he enters into a big London store for warmth. Closing time arrived, and as soon as the doors were shut, Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. So, closing time of the store arrived, and as soon as the doors were shut, as soon as the store became closed, what Griffin did was he indulged himself into the pleasure of wearing clothes. Okay, wearing clothing means wearing clothes from the London store, whatever was there, hung there, in the store. He kept on trying, okay, the clothes, and he fed himself also without regard to expense. Understood? He completely indulged himself in luxury because there was nobody around. The store became closed. Okay, therefore he kept on trying the clothes which were hung there in the store, as well as he fed himself with with whatever food stuff was available without regard to expense. Okay, because he was not supposed to pay, because he is invisible. He can somehow manage to run away from the store even if he is discovered by the people. Therefore, without regard to the cost involved in wearing clothes or in eating food, understood, he just kept on trying one after another. He kept on eating. Okay, he broke open boxes. See, how could he manage to get his food? He broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes. Okay, he broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes. Okay, this is how he could manage himself. Soon, with shoes, an overcoat and a wide brimmed hat, he became a fully dressed and visible person. Okay, because if he wears the clothes, he becomes visible to others. Okay, but as it is night time, as the stores have become closed, as it's winter time, therefore he started experimenting with wearing some clothes, okay, so that he can get some warmth inside. In the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery store. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. Okay, so again, in the restaurant, what happened? In the kitchen, he found himself some cold meat and coffee and all that stuff. So with that, he managed himself. And then from the grocery section, what happened? He also bought some meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery. Understood? And then he settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. Quilts means, you can say, mattress. Okay, warm mattress. Blanket, you can say, sorry, not mattress, warm blankets. Okay, if only Griffin had managed to wake up in good time, all might have been well. But it seems that Griffin did not wake up the next morning on time. Okay, he was sleeping because he got the comfort in the winter, comfort of the winter. Okay, inside the warm blanket. Therefore, might be he could not wake up on time. So as a result, what happened? You see, there is every possibility of Griffin being caught by the people of the stores. Let's find out. As it was, he did not wake up until the assistants were already arriving next morning. When he saw a couple of them approaching, he panicked and began to run. Okay, so he began to run because he is good at running, and he has to sort of escape himself from the people. Therefore, he was running. Then actually gave chase. In the end, what happened? He was able to escape only by quickly taking off his newly found clothes. Because as and when he is out of the stores, people will be able to see him. Even the store people will be able to see him. But he took off his clothes. Why? Because if he has to run on the street, he should be invisible. Otherwise, he will be definitely caught by the people. Therefore, he took off all his clothes. Okay, while he launched himself onto the street. So once more he found himself invisible but naked in the chill January air, because with clothes in his body he will be caught by the people, he will be visible. Therefore he became totally naked in the chill January air and was running onto the street. This time he decided to try the stock of a theatrical company. Okay, the next place he wanted to hide himself was a theatrical company, in the hope of finding not only clothes but also something that would hide the empty space above his shoulders. Okay, because there's an empty space above his shoulders. Okay, so that also he needs to hide, so that is possible only with the help of clothes. Therefore he has taken shelter in a theatrical company. Shivering with cold, he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theater world. So he was shivering. Okay, he was shivering with cold. So what he did was he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theater world. He soon found himself a suitable shop. He made his way invisible upstairs and came out a little later wearing bandages round his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers and a large hat. To escape without being seen, he carelessly attacked the shopkeeper from behind, after which he robbed him of all the money he could find. Okay, so you understood, he is involved into antisocial activities to meet his purpose. Okay, to fulfill all his objectives, he has indulged into all kinds of antisocial activities. Okay, that is why he is a lawless person. So you can find another instance of his lawlessness in the story. Okay, so you have to mark these sentences, because these sentences tell us the instance of his lawlessness. Understood? So therefore you please underline with pencil, okay, so that you are able to find out answers later on very quickly. Okay, when any such questions are asked in the exam. Okay, so you understood what happened. He soon found a suitable shop. He made his way invisible upstairs, came out a little later wearing bandages around his forehead, dark glasses, false. He is trying to cover himself up so that people are not able to identify him, people are not able to see him, and a large hat to escape without being seen. And a large hat he has ornate himself with. To escape without being seen, he carelessly attacked the shopkeeper. Okay, carelessly, dear students, the meaning of careless is cruel disregard for others. Okay, this is what is called careless. Cruel disregard, for no respect for others. Okay, cruel disregard for others is called careless. The shopkeeper from behind, and then after which he robbed him of all the money he could find. Okay, so Akanksha, good morning. Okay, so till this, are you able to hear me properly? Am I clearly audible to you, dear students? You please text me quickly so that I can proceed with the next paragraph. Okay, or I've got to speak a bit louder, or you are able to hear me properly. Okay. ठीक है, thank you Madhu and Nidhu, Akanksha. Okay, I'll continue. Next, eager to get away from crowded London, he took a train to the village of Iping, where he booked 2 rooms at the local inn. Okay, so what happened, dear students? You see, he wanted to get away from the crowded London, because what happens, in a crowded place there is a possibility of being captured by people. Therefore he wanted to escape to a village, so that the population is less in the village, so he can and space is more, so therefore he can somehow manage to escape and indulge in some of the antisocial activities there. People will not disturb him much, okay, as much as in the town or the city. Therefore he took a train to the village of Iping, where he booked 2 rooms at the local inn. Okay, kind of a lodge, you can say. Okay, inn matlab kind of a lodge where he took shelter. Okay, the arrival of a stranger at an inn in winter was in any case an unusual event. Normally no person sort of reports to the inn in the winter. Okay, therefore he is reporting the arrival of a stranger, because he is a stranger for the people of the village. He is a stranger for the people of the village. Therefore his arrival was seen with suspicion. Was seen with suspicion. Understood? So a stranger of such uncommon appearance, and moreover he has become the center of attraction for everybody, because he was having such an uncommon appearance. That is what made him the center of attraction or attention for everybody in the village. A stranger of such uncommon appearance set all tongues wagging. All tongues wagging means they were all chatting about him, talking about him. Somebody has come, a very stranger person has come. Okay, he has such an uncommon appearance in the village. So everybody was talking about him. Okay, Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife. Okay, so he took shelter in the inn of Mr. and Mrs. Hall. Okay, and Mrs. Hall is the landlord's wife. She made every effort to be friendly with the stranger, that is Griffin. But Griffin had no desire to talk and told her, my reason for coming to Iping, the name of the village is Iping, is a desire for solitude. Dear students, solitude means, do you know the meaning of solitude, dear students? Let me tell you, the meaning of solitude is loneliness. Loneliness, okay? So, the meaning of solitude is loneliness. So, you can write down later on. Okay, you can pause, you can watch the video once again, pause for a while and write down the meaning. Okay, so the meaning of solitude is loneliness. Understood? So he explained to the landlady that I have come to this village Iping because I want to remain in isolation, or I want to be live in loneliness. Okay. That is exactly the reason as to why I have shifted to a village called Iping, because I want to carry out some experiments of my own for which I require solitude. Okay, that is the reason as to why I have come. He will explain later on, you will find out. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work. See, work means he is a scientist, so he wants to carry out some experiments. Therefore he needs a place which is less inhabited, okay, which is not so crowded as London city. Therefore he has shifted himself to a village called Iping, and he has given the explanation to the landlady that I have come here so that I can live in solitude, number one, and number two, I can carry out with my experiments peacefully. That is the reason exactly why I have shifted to the village Iping. Besides, an accident has affected my face. Okay, an accident has disfigured my face. Therefore, I have come here to take rest. Okay, satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist. Okay, dear student, the meaning of eccentric is strange. Okay, you can say it's the synonym of eccentric is strange. So satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist, and in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. Okay, so the scientist has paid Mrs. Hall in advance. Therefore, Mrs. Hall, in spite of having experienced some strange behavior from the scientist, she is trying to adjust with the scientist because she has already taken advance money from the stranger, that is Mr. Griffin. Therefore, in spite of having his strange habits and irritable temper, Mrs. Hall was trying to excuse him because she has already taken advance money from him. But the stolen money did not last long, and presently Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. So his stolen money that he snatched from a person in London, that money has already run out, and he is desperately in need of cash at the moment. He pretended, however, that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. Okay, so he lied to the landlady. That a check is supposed to come, okay, arrive at any moment. After that, my financial problem will be solved for a while. So dear students, I've got to stop here actually today because I've got another class scheduled at 11:50. So therefore, dear students, in the next class I'll complete the chapter. Okay. So sorry for the interruption today because my camera was not working properly, and ultimately I couldn't fix it, of course. So anyway, this is the reason as to why I had to start a bit late. So anyway, next class surely I'll finish it. And by the way, please update your lessons, dear students. Please update your lesson notes and update your lesson notes and upload it in the form of PDF. Okay, please. That's all for today, dear students. Till we meet in the next class. Bye bye. Take care and have a nice day, children. Have a nice day. Please be on time next class. I'll be certainly there sharp at 11 o'clock. Okay. And in the meantime, please do update your lesson notes and send me in PDF format. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, all of you children. All of you, Tanali, Lakshman, Ayush, Sania, Madhu, Krutika, Ayush, Riya. Okay. Tanali, Lakshman, Pramanshu, Yog. All of you have a